We all know that carbon emissions from vehicles like cars and planes contribute to climate change. We also know that power run by oil also contributes to this problem. Unfortunately, our current options today are limited for using electric vehicles or electric planes, and not many have access to green energy yet. As everyday citizens, it doesn't seem like we have much power to reduce much of our greenhouse gas footprint. But what if I told you there was something that you could do in your day-to-day life that would cut your footprint by up to 73% right now? That doesn't include any of these things. You see this cheeseburger? What if I told you that a cheeseburger like this will one day be looked on as the ominous face of climate change catastrophe? One could say there is a well-kept secret to the general consumer public, that is, of the real impact of beef and dairy industry in our world today. The truth is, you might not believe me, right? I mean, as society, we have made beef and dairy a staple in our everyday lives. It is the theme of cookouts across America over the summertime, of families coming together for good times, right? How could something so normal be a leading cause of the demise of our planet and humankind itself? What we may not see is that because we seem to love cheeseburgers so much, hundreds of billions of cows are bred and killed every year just for this purpose. What does this really have to do with you, I bet you're wondering? Well, I don't want to bore you with a bunch of scientific jargon or boring chemical facts, but here are just some top reasons why the beef and dairy industry is moving us into climate catastrophe. The first reason is deforestation. Surprisingly, because of the demand for beef and dairy in our modern world, most human-used land is actually used to either house cows or to grow the food for the cows. This is a really big problem in areas such as the Amazon rainforest, which can attest to around 90% of all of its deforestation to the beef and cattle industry alone. We know that deforestation prevents the absorption of carbon through photosynthesis of trees and plants. Number 2, complete lack of sustainability. Yes, it's true. Beef and dairy are a completely unsustainable way to eat. It takes thousands of gallons of water to produce just 1 pound of beef. Because meat and dairy begin to grow bacteria so easily, plastic packaging is required for keeping beef and dairy safe to consume. This processing and packaging really adds a level of carbon emissions and single-use waste that is completely unsustainable. Not to mention the refrigeration required to keep it from going bad. Number 3. Methane, carbon, and nitrogen oxide emissions by the gigaton. I'm not sure you're ready for this one because it's the big one. Beef and dairy are responsible for about 16% of all greenhouse gas emissions. But there is something more tricky here to uncover. Methane is the leading emission in beef and dairy, and unfortunately also much more concentrated than CO2 itself. I mean like almost 30 times more potent. This moves the beef and cattle industry into a much bigger player in this whole climate change business. Okay, now for the good news. We can reach that 73% reduction in carbon footprint in each meal we have just by choosing a plant-based alternative at the moment we are in a grocery store or ordering food out with our friends. It may seem daunting to try something new, but you might be surprised how good the alternatives are to your taste buds, your body, and of course the environment.